Okay, so well, I came back out here to this farm, out here to this swampy area that I showed you before. I had you zoomed in because I saw a finch, but it flew away. Um, the reason I came back out here, I said I was done, but I had a buddy out here, lost his keys out in the woods when he was out cutting wood. Asked me if I'd come out and find his keys for him, which I did. Took me about an hour and a half, but found him. He can start his car again. I told him that I had an issue over here, and maybe you've had some of those issues too, I don't know. And if you can see the dark spot over there to the left of my backpack, that's where I dug the clock part the last time I was out here. Came out here a couple of days later, and I cut a nice, neat little plug and put everything back exactly the way I pulled it out. Plugged it in like a puzzle piece, just like you're supposed to do. Came back out a couple days later, and a raccoon or a possum or skunk, something had dug that hole out and threw mud everywhere, all out in here. So I came over, raked it all back up, filled my hole back in, and of course the grass had died because it had been 2 or 3 days. So I didn't know what had happened to the hole exactly. And we all are so quick, and I am not a fan of people who leave their holes wide open. Shame on them. However, we're also quick to say, well, somebody did a shoddy job of filling in their hole. Well, I know for a fact I put the plug exactly back where I pulled it from. Came back 3 days later, mud was thrown everywhere, the hole was deeper than it was when I left. So I talked to the landowner. I said, it's a really nice lot here. I mean, it's gorgeous. If you can kind of give you a little tour, it's beautiful. I'm not going to show you all of it or the house or anything like that, but it's just a beautiful lot. And for the house that used to sit up there in the field, the barn sat right back here. And if you remember in my last video when I was out here, I found a clock part down here by the swamp, which I thought was kind of odd. But I was dying to come back here and check the rest of this, especially back there. I don't know if that's going to do any justice for you as dark as it's getting. It's about 8 o'clock. But it's just beautiful back there. The barn sat there. They did a lot of work out of their barn. I would love to detect all of that, but I don't want, we have a field next to us. We're in the middle of nowhere. There's a swamp to our left, a field to the right, woods on beyond that. And I didn't want the holes to be dug open, every hole I dug. So especially being that there's a house right up here by the road that still lived in, and I don't want holes near their home. And I didn't want them to think that I left the holes. So anyway, the current property owner said, stick a mothball in every hole, and I don't care. He said, if they dig it up, they dig it up. I know you fill your holes. Stick a mothball in there. They'll say pew and leave. So we're going to try that tonight and see if that works. If that at least keeps them away from the holes we've dug, because essentially what we did, we found the grubs, we found the termites, and then we installed a refrigerator door for them. So they came in, they popped the plug back open, they ate until their little hearts were content, and then they left it alone and left it wide open. So anyway, we're going to try that tonight. We're coming back out tomorrow night. We'll see if that works. I did just dig this. I'm not positive what that is. And I'm not positive if it's focusing. I had some issues with this camera focusing before. So we're going to see if it works tonight. Anyway, I'm not sure what that is. Look how how it would fasten on the back. I don't know if that would have fastened onto leather. It's brass. I don't know if it would have been something off of a saddle or bridle or something fancier. I don't think it would have been like an escutcheon for a drawer pull. But it's pretty cool. And this would have been pretty much right out in front of the barn. So that's my first, other than the clock part, that's my first like age. And it looks even like maybe something would have, oops, sorry, I wasn't in frame. I do that a lot because I'm looking at the item. It looks like something would have twisted to lock, like maybe on a satchel or a saddlebag or a purse or something. You can see where, like the older bags, how they would have that turnbuckle inside there, and it would have locked across the brass piece. I don't know if you can see, if the camera's picking that up or not. If it's not, I'll get a photo of it so you can see the little indentions. Something twisted in there and locked. Or maybe it was a leather knot. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to see if I can't figure out what that is. I'll clean it up a little bit more when I get home. Alright, literally about 4 feet from the last hole. I haven't even moved the camera. If you look straight down, you can see the plug right here that I just put back. And right there is my little hand digger. And I found another one. This one's not cleaned up at all. I rubbed the other one on my pants forever. The back of this one, the brass piece on the back, is folded over a little bit. So I'm going to wait until I get home to clean this one up. But yeah, it's identical to the last one, 4 feet away. Maybe it was part of a saddle or a bridle, and maybe the whole thing's in the ground right here. I don't know. We'll find out, though. Get back with you in a minute. Well, that makes 3 of these within 4 feet of each other. Literally, I haven't moved my detector. I actually detected between the 2 holes that I dug the first 2 out of. So yeah, as soon as I find out what those are... Ooh, and yep, there, now it's a video. I dropped it. As soon as I find out what these are, I'm sure... I mean, this one you can see where the turnbuckle would have gone. Right here and right there. Up and down. So I don't know, if it was something like a saddlebag that would have locked, or a satchel, or a doctor's bag, or whatever that would have turned the little knob, or if that's just where the leather would have been knotted. I have no idea. This one, the back hasn't been over. It looks exactly like the first one. But yeah, that almost looks like it would have fixed to leather. I'm sure it did, but it's just odd that I found 3 of them now within 4 feet. I don't know. We'll find out. Well, I found this one up the bank a little ways. If I'm not mistaken, sorry, I know it's getting dark on us. Hopefully you can still see that pretty well. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's a chain off an old plow horse. Pretty sure that's what that is. I dug a lot of these in Kentucky. They're forged a little different, but pretty much the same thing. Alright, well this one's ringing an 88. And if you've ever watched any of my other videos, you know if I do a live dig, they're jinxed. So I cut the plug, I just haven't pulled it out yet, so let's go see what it is. Oh, I think it's jinxed. It is. Oh, what is that? I have no clue. No idea what that is. I'll clean it up and see if it's anything cool. It's probably just a piece of a bucket or something. You see the house off the distance there. That's the second house that was built here on this site. The first one burned down. That's also where the house and the garage sits. That's the only property they actually have. There's a little acre there in the front. That's theirs. Everything behind that, like over in this area, is where the old barn sat. The old house sat right here in this little flat spot here. And then the old barn sat back here in these trees. And that's where I'm going to detect today. But I had stopped detecting this barn and I went back to the fields because there was a critter digging my holes. Every hole I filled, they dug it back up and had a little smorgasbord of grubs and termites and whatever else was in the hole. So we tried the mothball thing. We're going to go over there and see if it worked. I do not recommend doing this. They are poisonous. This is just what the landowner had asked me to do because I guess... Sorry about that. My camera decided it wanted to die. But we got that out of the way now. Shouldn't happen the rest of the night. Out here are the fields that they normally plant soybeans in. This year they have not been able to. They've been really wet. This field is probably drained the best out of all of them. But they haven't planted in any of them because there's standing water in all of them. However, we're going to go back over there to where that old barn used to stand and see if the mothball trick worked. But as I was saying before my battery died, I don't recommend this. I'm not saying that it works. I'm not saying that it's safe. There are other animals in yards, dogs, cats, whatever, that I wouldn't think they would get a hold of a mothball. And people put mothballs in a lot of places. Garages, basements, attics, trunks, whatever. But I don't recommend just putting them in the ground. We're doing this just to see if it will stop the raccoon or skunk or possum, whatever is digging them back up, see if it makes them stop. We are out, like I just showed you this picture. I mean, there are houses out here, but 90% of the landscape out here, that's what it looks like. So this is their territory. However, that's a yard. So we want them to stay out of the yard. They are a nuisance out here on this farm, and the guy that owns that house just planted his garden. So we're going to try to help him keep them out of his garden and keep these holes from getting dug back up. The actual property owner had stated that he didn't care if they dug it back up. It wasn't a big deal to him. It is to me. I don't want anyone thinking that I don't fill my holes, and I don't want anyone to not give me a permission in the future because raccoons or possum or skunk made a mess of this one. Like I said, the property owner is fine with it. He said, I know you fill your holes. He said, I've been everywhere you've been since you've been out here detecting. I know you do. But to be on the safe side, and I don't want to fall in the hole either, and I don't want the dogs to get caught in the hole. The people live in the house here, they have dogs. I don't want the couple that lives here to trip and fall in the holes. They do go back here where this barn sat a lot. They actually, parts of the video you can see they have a lawn roller back there and a trailer and what have you. They got stuff stored back there, even though it's not their lot. It's a larger items. They stick it back there in the woods. So, and it's just not good practice, and it's rude to not fill your holes. So I just don't want anything else to tear it up. We will be there in just a minute. We're going to walk over there. We'll find out if it worked, and I'll turn the camera back on and let you know. We're almost to the holes that I dug the other day, so we're going to see if the mothball trick worked. Sorry if this is really shaky. This feels really rough. I always look for arrowheads when I'm walking through here. This was this field was one of the paths that the Potawatomi took. And they were on their way to a camp that's about 5 miles from here. I used to know the owner of that field, but they sold out after the original owner passed away. So I haven't gone over and actually asked permission yet. Now this mud that's in my shadow here, that is not a hole. That's from when they plowed their garden. And there's some tractor tracks up here too. That wasn't one of my holes either. However, I don't see anything ripped back open. This is where I found those little satchel leather brass pieces. And other than the tractor tracks, it looks like the mothball trick works. I did this whole square right here from that stump. That stump had termites in it. It's been dead for years and years and years and years. And right down over the hill from it, there's 2 holes that got ripped back open. One had grubs in it, and the one up by the stump had termites in it. We filled those back in, dropped a mothball in those. And then when we were digging the other night, we stayed between these 2 trees, over to this grassy area where it's always wet, down to the stump, and then back to me. So we stayed in just this square when we were digging, and looks like the animals left the holes alone. So it does work. So like I said, I can't recommend it because they're poisonous. You know, there's MSDS and 1,000 warnings on the box when you buy it. I'm not saying it's healthy for animals, but it definitely made the critters stay out of the yard. So it does work. Well, there's just junk out of that one. That one, I'll get you out here in the sun. You can see the holes through it. That one actually does look like a salt shaker top. And I already started filling my hole back in, but you can see the mud on the side of my pinpointer. It was a full pinpointer deep, but I think that's all that is. I think it's just aluminum. It rang up like a 82. So anyway, here's my junk item for the day. I think out of that hole, pretty sure I have, one side or the other, what's left of an old enameled chamber pot. And one you would have kept by your bed at night so you didn't have to go out to the outhouse. And I'm not going to keep digging that out of there, because it is toasted and roasted and crumpled and about gone. Just wanted to share that. Maybe they had one out in the barn. I don't know. I do know a barn sat here. This wasn't where the original house sat. And the other house is, the new house, is just beyond this little swampy area here. Now, I don't know why they don't mow this. I'm not sure. I'm going to ask, because they mow everything else, even though this actually belongs to someone else. It is behind their house. Maybe it's to control the mosquitoes because of that swamp. But they do mow it because it's right up, I mean, literally around the other side of this where that big tree is where their house is. I'm not sure why they don't mow this patch right here. Maybe it's too swampy. Maybe there's a lot of trash in there. Maybe I need to go check it out. We'll find out. Now that looks like something off an old plow horse, doesn't it? It's pretty large. Oh, look, it's big. And I'm right up next to those weeds I just showed you. So, pretty sure this came out of the barn. Alright, well somebody tell me what that is, because I have no clue. It's threaded on this end. The only thing I could think is maybe some kind of chisel, but I'm really thinking that's not what it is. Is it part of a plow? I doubt it. I have no idea. I don't think I've ever seen one before. So yeah, if you know what that is, let me know in the comments, because I have no clue. Well, I'm finding all kinds of mystery items today. What the heck is that? It almost looks like something that held a beaker in a lab. Rang up at 80 on the AT Max. No idea. I mean, that wire is old and corroded, but this looks brand new. I have no clue what that is. I can't see, but there's a hole here, and it broke at this hole. And then there's one here that I don't have opened up. It's full of mud. There's no markings on it that I can see. I have no idea what that is. Guess I'll have to do some research when I get home. If you recognize that, whatever it is, let me know. Well, I said I was done with this field for a while, because I wasn't finding a whole lot of good stuff. I was finding a lot of farm stuff. I was finding random bits like a clock part out here. This is the field where I came out here, and I don't know if you've seen that clip yet or not, but I came out here with mothballs to put in the holes to stop the animals from digging the holes back open. And I think I found out what it was. There's a skunk back behind the camera over there. That's why I'm back out here. I don't want to get sprayed. But it was just down over the hill over here where it was digging our holes back open. So we gave everything a break, hoping they would leave the stuff alone. I really don't want my holes dug back open. I don't want it to leave it a mess. That's not how I left it. I don't want it getting torn up. But like my dad said, we installed refrigerator doors. They opened the hose back up, ate the grubs, ate the termites, ate the ants, and left a mess. So we've waited a little while. We had some really hot days, and we don't get a lot of 90-degree days in Michigan, but we had quite a few in a row. And after working in a hot warehouse all day, I didn't want to come out here and stand in the hot sun all day. So when we had some rainy days where it would cool it off, I'd go out and detect in the rain just because it was cooler. But show you a little bit of where we were. Right out here by this bush, I found those 3 turn lock buckles, like 4 feet from each other, right in here. And down by that stump, right there, we found the clock part. Well, I detected all of this, and I really didn't find much else. And back, when you get back in here in these trees, right about there, there was a barn that sat back in there. And that's the one I was told was the old barn to the original house. Now, duck for a minute, Austin. Right out here was the original house. And it burned down. It was built in 1836. It burned down. And then they came over here. You can see just barely the top of the house right here. The house that's currently here. Sorry, got a bug on my glasses. And so right about here, that's where you can probably see the light pole and then the chimney. That's the new house, and that house was built in the 1870s. So there's this big weedy area right here that I'm pretty sure I captured in quite a few of the videos when I was out here. And I had no idea why they didn't mow it. But the barn that was supposed to sat back here, it had a concrete foundation, like newer concrete, and concrete walls about 4 feet high. And I knew that couldn't have been the original barn to the house that sat over here on our right in the field from 1836. So I asked the homeowner, or not the homeowner, not the person that lives up here, because they own the front acre. This back section actually belongs to the guy that owns the fields over here. And he's the one that gave me permission to be back here hacking up the weeds. However, if you see where me and Austin have been working, where we've been in here, I've been using the machete. He's been picking up behind me the weeds and putting them over in the swamp. When I was out here detecting, I found, I'm going to take you over there with me if I can get this maneuvered real quick. Let me pause you for a minute and I'll be right back. So I was detecting over here and found that square stone completely flat on top. And then I followed it, and I know it might be hard for you to see in all the grass and the darkness, but it continues all the way down through here. And right over here where we have all of our gear staged, we dug right underneath this big old apple tree. We dug a bridle ring. And I thought, there must have been something over here. Or maybe they tied their horses out by the apple tree. I didn't know. So when I talked to the property owner, I told him that I found a bridle ring over there by where Austin and my detectors are sitting. And I asked him, I said, what was in that big weedy area behind there? He said, oh, you know what? He said, I think that's where the original old barn sat. I said, well, is there a reason why it's not mowed? Is that a plant of some kind? I've never seen that kind of weed. I don't know what it is. And he says, probably because there's so many stones in there from the foundation, he can't get in there. And I was like, that's exactly where I want to be then. So we chopped all that out. And, oh, you're really crooked. Let me straighten you out there. So after we cleaned all that out, we started digging up, just raking away all the dead from the years and years and years of the weeds dying and falling over. We started raking all that out. And when we did, we found this. It's actually the old bridle. It's the leather. It's all still, well, not all. Most of it's gone, to be honest. But it's the old bridle, leather bridle with a ring. And all the rivets still there. And this one has some rosettes on it. And 2 rivets. So yeah, all those guys that when you dig those leather rivets and you just got a little itty bitty piece like that, that's what it looked like. I don't know how old this is. I have no clue. But, I mean, it's obviously old. This is brass. I did rub this one as clean as I could get it with just my thumb. It is brass. I don't know what the backs are made out of, but you can actually see where they come through the leather right there. And one of these, there it is right here. You can see when you find those little prongs, that's how it went through the leather. Hopefully there's a really big one in there, like a chest rosette or something. I don't know. I haven't been in there with my detector. I've just been scraping around with my shovel and my machete, seeing what all we could find. And there's a strap. There's a bigger piece here. Sorry, the shadow wasn't helping you any. So we're going to go in here with our detectors and see if we get any beeps, anything decent. There is some concrete that was poured later, and that's going to be bothersome and some trouble. There's some really big rocks in here too. I'll get some pictures of those. I get some pictures of the concrete too. You really can't see it through all the weeds, but it's really like a rough poured concrete. It just how it wasn't floated at all. It's just how it was poured was how it stayed. It's choppy and rough and sharp and not anything we would find in a modern sidewalk or poured garage floor. So I'm going to go back in there, see if I can find anything, and if I do, I'll get back with you. Well, Austin and I were just digging right over here, where he's at, just before where he's at now, where my detector is out there on the ground. And we found what I think is a single tree hook. It was pretty much right about the same area we found the bridle. So I'm pretty sure that's what that is. I'm not positive, so if I'm wrong, let me know. So we got the camera and brought you in here with us. And in this hole, right over here, where you see the dirt is kind of messed up and the weeds aren't laying on top of it right here, that's where I filled the hole back in from getting that single tree hook. At least that's what I think it is. I can't find one online, and I'm not familiar with old horse tack. I'm getting more familiar with it though, because I just found some more. So this is part of that same bridle that I have laying over there by the tree. It's caked right now. It's full of mud, so I don't know if there's rivets in there. I'm assuming there is. There's a rivet here and looks like part of a rivet there. But 2 buckles. So I'm going to keep going because there's more signals in there. So hopefully I can make this thing look like something when I'm done. Hopefully I'll have enough parts to it.